Today on 9 News Mornings, a bill for a safe place to use drugs is making its way through the state capitol, but there is some opposition. And the race for Denver's mayor is now one candidate shorter, and the decision came as a surprise to his own campaign team. Plus, may the luck of the Irish be with you. This St. Patrick's Day, CSP is out in full force with a warning for those celebrating. 9 News Mornings starts now. Taking a live look at EarthCam, it's currently pointing to Dublin, Ireland. Look at all those folks out there with the green.
Oh, fun.
Probably
I
some
have
beer
been in that bar.
Have you?
Really?
In that very bar. Oh, yeah.
Is it the Temple Bar?
You're at the Temple Bar.
He closed it
I got a
down.
T-shirt that says Temple Bar and everything on it, so yes.
Why didn't you wear that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was that?
Why didn't you wear that?
Well, it's a black T-shirt.
Yes.
Ironic.
It doesn't work.
We have to
I
wear
know.
green today.
Yeah.
Happy St. Patrick's Day, everyone. I'm Corey here with Jordan, Ed, and Greg.
Yes.
It says Erica, but no.
I know, it took a little bit. It's all right. It's okay. It's all right.
Good morning, everybody, and happy St. Patrick's Day. Of course, we're celebrating here on 9 News Mornings. And if you are celebrating, you are going to want to bundle up just a little bit because it's going to be kind of chilly out there today.
Going to stay cool today. Yeah, we're only 25 right now. We're not getting in the low 40s, so it is going to be kind of cool. But we do see a little bit of a warm up coming our way as spring comes our way as well.
Right.
Love it.
Only 37 degrees yesterday, maybe the low 40s today and tomorrow, but by Sunday we could be near 50 degrees and then close to 60 as we get into next week. We do have some high clouds around right now. 25 degrees is where we sit, and we do have those clouds because of a system down over Santa Fe and in New Mexico, and that has some snow over southern Colorado. It's not going to last very long, and slowly it's going to move out, take all that with it, and we will have mostly sunny skies around here. So we're in for a couple of nice days, albeit some cool ones. Mostly sunny, 41 degrees today with sunny skies. Then tomorrow, 43 degrees. We keep the sunshine around, even keep sunny skies on Sunday with 50 degrees for the high. Now, we'll be a little bit warmer on Monday, the first day. Well, spring arrives at 3 in the afternoon. And you can see we have more clouds and then some showers from those clouds on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Cooler, maybe rain mixed with snow showers.
Alrighty, time to take a quick look at traffic on this St. Patrick's Day. We're taking a live look right now at I-25 southbound at West 23rd Avenue. Things are flowing pretty nicely both ways, and this is all as we prepare for overall not a bad day. It looks like my clicker is not working, but overall things are looking pretty good throughout much of the metro region. A whole lot of green. I was looking at DTC to downtown just a few moments ago, and we're looking anywhere between 10 to 15 minutes, 70 miles per hour. Same thing goes the other way. But this morning, things are in the green.
Greg, thank you. Well, today is St. Patrick's Day, and a warning for those of you celebrating today. Colorado State Patrol is out in full force looking for impaired drivers. CSP has put out the same warning they put out every year. Do not drink and drive, not just today, but any day. Any impaired driver will be taken directly to jail. Those cited for DUI can lose their license for up to a year, be sentenced to a year in jail, and face thousands of dollars in fines. And we just want you to stay safe.
The Aurora Police Traffic Section wants to help St. Patrick's Day celebrators get home safe. They're teaming up with Stanley Marketplace for a Choose Your Ride event. Going through Saturday, APD will offer free rides home from Stanley Marketplace if someone is too drunk to drive. All passengers must be at least 21 years old, be willing to be searched before getting a ride. They'll also have to sign a liability waiver. The service starts at 6 p.m., goes until Stanley Marketplace closes.
Well, right now, a bill is moving through the state capitol to decide whether cities in Colorado can open a place for people to use drugs with supervision in case they overdose.
Now, News reporter Anusha Roy has been following this story. And Anusha, this is the furthest a bill like this has moved through legislation.
Yeah, back in 2018, which is the latest version of what we remember, the bill failed at step 1. This time around, it's actually made it out of the House and is on to the Senate, where a committee is expected to discuss it. We asked multiple experts who said that this is the furthest they've seen this idea make it so far in Colorado. So this time around, they've changed the name from supervised injection sites to overdose prevention sites. We know there's so much controversy around this. We know there's a lot of unknowns. So we wanted to take a closer look at what several lawmakers are trying to bring to the state. Colorado has closely studied what Vancouver did. They opened their first site back in 2003, 20 years ago, and have since expanded to 40 spots.
With the opening of overdose prevention sites, it brings people into the sites, so then people are not using drugs as much on the street. They're having overdoses in the sites that are being reversed, so they're not, dying on the street. And then, the sharps and other supplies that they use at the site can be disposed.
I am curious, since you guys have opened these, what have you noticed with overall overdose death rates?
Well, overdose death rates were improving in 2019. And then, of course, we had the COVID pandemic when it was difficult to keep some of these sites open and operating at full capacity. The drug supply chains changed and the drugs became more toxic.
So Vancouver did start to see overdose deaths go back up. We unfortunately were seeing the same thing here as well. In Colorado, we saw record-breaking numbers of overdose deaths going from just over 1,400 in 2020 to more than 1,800 in 2021, and the 2022 numbers haven't been finalized yet. So the next steps here will be for the bill to head to a Senate committee that hasn't been scheduled yet. There's going to be a few more steps for changes and voting and amendments before this would be heading to the governor.
So this is the farthest it's gone, but we're on the verge of an election for Denver mayor. I mean, what could happen from here?
Yeah, so we had an interesting conversation with some of the mayoral candidates about where would something like this go, right? It would go where the need is, whether that's a mobile clinic, where harm reduction is, in certain neighborhoods to make it easier access. But, while Denver City Council has approval for one pilot location, we've heard from several mayoral candidates, a majority saying they don't even support it. So then the question becomes, what does the governor say about this? And then if you have a mayor that's at odds with the city council, then how do you duke that out, basically?
Right.
So people who support this effort, it's intended to help people get into treatment. Is that what's happening, what they're seeing in Vancouver at least?
Right, and so this is where it gets really tricky because that's the crux of this whole program, right? And they said they don't actually track that data because the legal status of these sites were in question. They wanted to protect people's privacy as well. And so they said there's research that shows that people are detoxing, they're going to treatment, but the specific numbers was not something that they could offer up when we talked to them.
All right, we'll have to keep a close eye on this then. All right, Anusha, thank you.
Thank you. We're now down to 16 people running to be Denver's next mayor. Tattered Cover CEO Kwame Spearman is dropping out of the race and endorsing someone else. Spearman took hardline stances on homelessness and immigration. He argued that neighborhoods should have more control over city policy and that unhoused people are, quote, exploiting the system. He misrepresented a study of Denver's unhoused population to say people on the streets don't want a home. The study actually found the opposite. Spearman has endorsed candidate Kelly Brough. Brough has pledged to forcibly clear homeless encampments and arrest those who refuse shelter or treatment. Spearman polled around 1% in a Survey USA poll commissioned by 9 News and our partners at Colorado Politics, the Denver Gazette, and MSU Denver. Ballots are already out, but once he files a withdrawal form, votes for him won't be counted, but you will still see his name on the ballot because they were printed and mailed previously. Jamie Gillis, who was runner-up in 2019's mayoral race, worked as Spearman's campaign treasurer. She posted on Facebook last night saying Spearman didn't consult his campaign team, didn't tell them until the last moment, and Gillis says she doesn't support his endorsement of Brough. She wrote, quote, "To say I'm disappointed is an understatement."
Oil and gas companies have been ordered to significantly reduce their emissions in Colorado in just 2 years. Democratic Governor Jared Polis sent that directive this week and says Colorado is the first state in the country to create a comprehensive reduction program for nitrogen oxides. The directive says oil and gas companies must cut emissions by 30% in 2 years and 50% by 2030. The reductions will be compared to 2017 levels. The EPA says nitrogen oxide is a major contributor to ozone production. Polis says that the technologies to do this already exist and will help Colorado get out of sanctions for not meeting the EPA's clean air standards.
One of those penalties that is being talked about is could potentially raise the cost of gas at the pump. We want to avoid that. We think better ways to get there: make drilling cleaner, which we're doing. Incentivize EVs. We rolled out a package to reduce the cost of EVs, $5,000 tax credit for EVs, making them more affordable. E-bikes, also looking at things like lawn blowers, leaf blowers, all of those kinds of technology, which also use very inefficient engines, and how can we save people money, be more convenient with moving that to electric.
In a statement, the president of the Colorado Oil and Gas Association, Dan Haley, said the directive is ambitious and will be a challenge to achieve. KOGA is also concerned about other legislation that has created a backlog of permits.
Electric cars are growing in popularity, but some across the country have caught fire. It's a new danger firefighters are preparing for. The training is different because the batteries are much harder to put out. News reporter Kelly Rinke found out crews can't rely on water.
On a scooter, like a small one, we're talking 40 to 60. of these cells.
Today's lesson is about batteries and when they explode.
Any idea how many cells are in a Tesla Model S? 6,000. 7,000.
Electric car or scooter fires are a new danger firefighters at South Metro have to prepare for because it's happening across the country.
As we've been doing this class, they had a 5-alarm fire in the Bronx that was caused by one scooter fire.
Captain Chris Wells recently started this training for the department.
This is the car fire blanket. As you can see, it's a lot more robust.
Crews have to learn a different technique with these kinds of fires because water isn't an option.
That normally we can put a car fire out with about 500 gallons of water, and that's what we carry on our fire trucks. That does not work at all.
What does seem to work is this tarp. Well, kind of.
What that does is it basically takes the oxygen out of that fire. The batteries in the car are still burning underneath. And if we have to, we can leave the blanket on, but it takes about 15 hours before that fire actually burns itself through.
No one is going to wait around for that, but it does give firefighters time to save houses or cars nearby.
The fires burn much hotter. We're looking at 2,500 degrees is how hot these fires can burn, compared to like 1,700 degrees of a typical fire.
When the tarp comes off, the fire starts again.
The cleanest burning way that we can deal with this is let the fire burn itself out, and that usually takes about an hour.
Not the most efficient fire call, but it's a drill that keeps everyone safe.
It's not the magic bullet, it buys us time.
Kelly Rinke, 9 News.
What an interesting change. I mean, everything's electric these days. The scooters, the bikes, cars. South Metro says research shows these kind of events are rare with cars that meet a certain safety standard. They see more problems with cheap end scooters and cars with aftermarket batteries.